Ever wonder how a rough piece of hide becomes like a super soft leather jacket?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
We got some excerpts about leather finishing operators, and it's really interesting stuff.
It is.
Like, who knew there was so much skill in that?
Right. Most people probably don't think about it much.
No, not all.
But a leather finishing operator, they're the ones who take that raw material and make it into the leather we see everywhere.
It's like they're magicians or something.
Totally. Transforming something rough into something luxurious.
It says here they're responsible for using all this specialized machinery
Oh, yeah, the machinery is a huge part of it.
to get the leather to have
Yeah.
certain
And
qualities.
it's not just one type of machine either.
Hmm.
They use a whole bunch of different ones, depending on what they're trying to achieve.
It mentions things like color and pattern, which makes sense, but also like special properties.
Ah, yeah. The special properties. That's where it gets really interesting.
What, like waterproofing?
Waterproofing, for sure. That's a big one, especially for things like boots.
Right, makes sense.
But there's also stuff like flame retardants.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, for things that need to be fire resistant.
I never would have thought of that.
And get this, anti-fogging.
Anti-fogging on leather.
Yep. Think car interiors.
Oh, right. I never even considered that.
They use these treatments to stop those tiny water droplets from forming on the leather.
Wow. So it's not just about making it look good, they're actually changing how the leather behaves.
Exactly. It's all about chemistry and understanding how different treatments can change the leather's properties.
That's incredible. I had no idea.
It's like this. Tanning creates the basic material, but the finishing is where the real transformation happens.
It's like they're manipulating the leather at a molecular level.
In a way, they are. They use their knowledge of chemistry and their skills with the machinery to enhance the leather's natural qualities.
So let me get this straight. If someone needs leather that can handle like really high temperatures for a firefighter suit or something,
That's right.
a leather finishing operator is the one who makes that happen.
You got it. And it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. Each type of leather, each desired outcome, it requires a specific approach and combination of treatments.
It sounds incredibly complex.
It can be.
Yeah.
They need to factor in things like humidity, the thickness of the leather, even the type of dye that's been used.
Wow. There's way more to it than meets the eye.
That's for sure.
What I'm finding really fascinating is that it's this blend of like hardcore chemistry and artistry,
Yeah, you said it. You need that technical knowledge for sure.
working with potentially dangerous stuff.
Definitely. Safety is super important in this field.
But at the same time, you need a real eye for detail and a sense of craftsmanship.
Absolutely. It's a delicate dance between precision and creativity. You're not just pressing buttons on a machine, you're using your hands, your judgment, your intuition. It's a real craft.
So it's not just the chemistry, it's the actual environment too. Like you're surrounded by all this heavy-duty equipment.
Yeah, definitely.
It must take a certain kind of person to thrive in that setting.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You got to be comfortable with a fast-paced environment for sure.
You mentioned safety earlier, and I see these excerpts also talk about the importance of that.
Oh, yeah. Safety is paramount in this line of work, no question.
What kind of hazards are we talking about?
Well, like we said, there's the machinery, moving parts, potential for things to get loud.
Right.
And then, of course, you're working with chemicals, so you need proper ventilation, protective gear, all that good stuff.
It's not a desk job, that's for sure.
Definitely not. You're going to be on your feet a lot, moving around. It could be pretty physically demanding.
Makes you appreciate the craftsmanship even more.
It does. It's a skilled trade, no doubt about it.
Speaking of skills, something that caught my eye in these excerpts was the mention of process improvement.
Oh, interesting.
It sounds like senior operators get involved in that. What does that look like in the leather finishing world?
Well, it's all about finding ways to do things better.
Right.
Maybe it's experimenting with a new type of finish or finding a more efficient way to do something.
Like streamlining the workflow.
Exactly. Or maybe even finding ways to be more environmentally friendly. A lot of companies are really focused on that these days, reducing their environmental footprint.
Makes sense.
So a senior operator, with their years of experience, they might be the ones testing new equipment, figuring out the best way to implement new processes.
So they're not just following instructions, they're actually shaping how things are done.
Precisely. They become a really valuable part of the company's innovation process.
So you start out learning the ropes, mastering those different finishes.
Yeah,
But as you gain experience, you could be the one coming up with those finishes.
that's the beauty of it. You can really build a career in this field.
That's pretty awesome. And speaking of the future, how is technology changing things in the world of leather finishing?
That's a great question. Technology is definitely having an impact. I mean, you see it everywhere, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And leather finishing is no different. We're seeing more automation, more advanced machinery.
So robots are taking over?
Not quite taking over, but they are changing the game.
How so?
Well, some of the more repetitive tasks might become automated, and that means operators need to adapt, learn how to work with these new machines.
I see. It's not eliminating jobs, it's changing the skill set.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It might even involve learning some basic programming, being able to troubleshoot technical issues.
That makes a lot of sense. And it ties into what we were saying earlier about continuous learning.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not enough to just learn the basics and coast.
Nope.
You've got to be willing to keep learning to keep up with the technology.
Exactly. The leather industry is always evolving, and if you want to stay ahead of the curve, you've got to evolve with it.
It's like that section in the excerpts about interview prep.
Oh, yeah.
It mentions that you might get asked about your comfort level with technology,
That makes a lot of sense.
your willingness to learn new things,
Definitely. That's huge.
and how you stay updated on the latest advancements.
They're basically looking for someone who's both skilled and adaptable, someone who can bridge that gap between traditional craftsmanship and modern technology.
It's like a blend of artisan and tech enthusiast.
Perfectly said. And that brings us to something really interesting when we think about the future of this field.
So with all this talk about robots and automation, what does the future hold for actual leather finishing operators?
Right. Are they going to be out of a job soon? Is that what we're saying?
Yeah. Is all this tech going to make their skills obsolete?
Well, it's a valid question, especially with synthetic materials becoming more common.
True. Yeah.
But here's the thing. Even with all the advancements, you still can't fully replace that human touch, you know?
What do you mean?
Like, think about those subtle variations you get in real leather.
Right.
A machine can't necessarily replicate that, or those judgment calls an operator makes based on years of experience.
I see.
Like maybe the humidity is a little off one day and they adjusted treatment slightly because they just know.
Ah, they have that intuition.
Exactly. It's that expertise that sets them apart.
That makes sense.
And I think at the end of the day, people still value that.
Yeah.
That real, authentic leather that's been finished with care and skill.
Yeah. There's a certain appeal to that for sure, that connection to like genuine craftsmanship.
Totally.
It's like we were talking about before with the interview prep. One of the questions mentioned in these excerpts is all about problem solving.
Oh, right. Like, what would you do if you weren't sure how to achieve a specific finish?
Exactly.
That's such a good question. Because even with all the technology in the world, things can still go wrong. Or maybe you'll be faced with a new challenge you've never encountered before.
So you need to be able to think on your feet.
For sure. And that's where that deep understanding of leather, of the entire process, really comes in handy.
You're not just pressing buttons.
Nope. You're using your knowledge, your creativity to come up with solutions. It's that ability to problem solve that makes for a truly great leather finishing operator.
So it's a blend of art and science, really.
100%. And as with anything, there's always something new to learn, a new technique to try. It's a field with a ton of potential, especially for those who are curious, adaptable, and passionate about what they do.
It sounds like it. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, from the intricate chemistry to the importance of human expertise in a world that's becoming more automated. It's really opened my eyes to a whole industry I knew very little about. And hey, who knows, maybe this has sparked an interest for some of you listening. Either way, keep those curiosity gears turning, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.